Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Absolutely out of control weather, flights still being canceled, weekly Q&As from the doctor, and more. Not to mention camera systems being deployed to spy on us all. World War III scenarios. Trump's obsession with Greenland. Will the United States attack Iran? Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom, kiss the ring. We'll talk about it all. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live, but first, weather out of control. 14 plus states had over a foot of snow. They say ice in the south everywhere. And, you know, some of us in the mountains don't really understand this because we get snow and we're like, well, what's the big deal? Snow's snow, isn't it? No, snow's not just snow. When you get snow that's super wet because of humidity and everything, it's a different ballgame, number one. It's not the dry powder we think of when it's great skiing in the Rocky Mountains. But when you get in the south, what happens is it basically stays below freezing. It's so humid, it's icy as all get out. Everything turns into a thin sheet of ice everywhere. And that means that ice is on the power lines, which means power lines. Ice on the trees, which means trees. It all starts coming down, folks, and wreaking havoc everywhere. Just so the folks in the Rocky Mountains understand, it's not the same thing. I know you think it is, but I'm telling you that it's not. Think of frog strangler rain and then it turning into ice everywhere. People can't get out of their driveways. It is insane. James Edwards with us, dear friend from the politicalcesspool.org radio broadcast, also a contributor to all that we do. Well, welcome back. And you guys are stuck at home, James?
We are absolutely stranded, Sam. I hope y'all can hear me okay because I'm not on my normal device that I use to connect to the studio, rather on my cell phone.
Sir.
So I know. Well, very good. But yes, we are absolutely iced in. Let me just tell you this, without any sensationalism and without any clickbait intended. You know, I'm not a weatherman. I don't have a Twitter account like that. So I'm not getting any revenue for this. I'm 45 years old. I'm 5 years shy of a half century on this earth, and I've never seen anything like this. We have snow every year. You know, it doesn't snow a lot in Memphis in the Mid-South, but about once or twice a year it'll get snow enough to go out and do a snowman or a snowball fight or whatever. They still in Memphis talk about the 1994 ice storm, which was pretty infamous and very much remembered, historic. My dad was a fireman in 1994. He was the captain of the fire department and there in our little town of Bartlett. And I can remember, you know, all the power being out in the town, and but the fire station had power, and you could drive down the road, and it was about a mile away from our house. We'd go there and take showers and stuff. But then I was a kid, so it was kind of fun. This is totally different. I mean, this is absolutely catastrophic what has happened, and the line of the storm, I mean, we got it, okay, here in Memphis. There's about, you know, you got to understand there's a difference between what actually accumulated and the drifts that'll come up next to your house. I mean, I'm looking outside my window at a mound of ice. You could dig into it and sit in it like an igloo. It's above my daughter's head. And so it's like 2 feet of just solid, impenetrable ice blocking the garage. So even if you could open the garage door, which you can't, you certainly can't get a car out of there unless you've got a monster truck. And we got it relatively lightly here. The storm, that ice storm that came through and went all the way from Texas up to the Northeast, skated right by Memphis. But when I say it skated by, I don't mean it missed us. I mean, we had every branch, every limb, every twig of every tree, you know, absolutely encased in ice, but just barely enough not to cause power lines and utility poles and trees to snap and explode. In the county immediately to my east and to the counties immediately to our south, I mean, it was a razor-thin margin. If you look at some of these radar images of the storm, within just a few miles, it looks like an apocalypse. If you look in Oxford, Mississippi, which is about an hour south of us, the mayor was on Fox News yesterday in tears saying it looks like a tornado has come down every street. It looks like, I mean, I'm trying to paint the best verbal picture I can. The entire forest in Mississippi have just laid down. The ice has just taken out everything. The entire landscape of northern Mississippi is never going to be the same as a result of this storm. And it is not, as you said, just snow. It came down for 2 straight days, even here in Memphis. It came down as freezing rain. It was very tiny little pellets, and it just accumulated over 2 days. And it is so slick. It is like concrete. You can't break through it with a shovel. You can't just go out and shovel your driveway. It's impossible. You're talking about 6 inches to a foot of just concreted ice, and it's compacted.
And
it's
I know a lot of
say,
people in the Rocky Mountains and in other places are going to be like, well, come on, just use ice melt. Folks, this stuff is too thick just to use ice melt. You have to use bags and bags and bags of it. It's just not doable, James.
Well, if I don't know if they sell that here. I mean, I guess they do probably, but it doesn't really ice or snow as much down here to where, you have to think about it perpetually as people in the Rockies may have to during the winter, and everything shut down. There's no business. There's no restaurant. The entire, they canceled every flight out of Memphis. They may have restored that by now because this was a couple of days ago. But I mean, you have a lot of people that are just trapped in their homes. I mean, we certainly can't get out. And it's really something. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's dangerous, but it's beautiful. It's certainly something to see, but it's definitely caused just widespread damage. Certainly more than any tornado or any natural disaster in this area in my lifetime.
Dr. Scott Bradley, some people are even calling it Ice-ageddon, sir.
No, the old saying, don't mess with Mother Nature. I mean, I'm telling you, the forces of nature can be phenomenally effective at disrupting what our normal cycle of life is, it seems like. But, it's something, as he was talking about, just razor's edge, where it affected and where it didn't fully affect. You think about the way tornadoes, sometimes they pick one house and then the house next door to it doesn't have any damage. And so it's just a really interesting thing. As soon as we get thinking we got it all together and there ain't nothing that we can't face, it's kind of like, try handling this one for a minute. And so I think that we've got a reminder occasionally there's something bigger than us. I mean, I've been in some of those ice storms that are just phenomenal. I think of one morning I got up in Dallas and I was the only vehicle on the road anywhere to get out of town because the ice had basically turned everything into a hockey rink, And the things that a lot of people don't think of is the weight on the wires and the limbs of the trees, and it's just devastating. It takes them down.
Dr. Bradley, things just come down. People don't really realize. For us, the snow's soft and powdery and light, and it doesn't take too much to get it gone. But when this ice literally sticks and molds and gets bigger and bigger, it just gets super heavy. We don't really, it happens a little bit in Utah, but not in other places, but not like this, right?
Well,
go ahead, James.
Dr. Bradley.
No, go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
No, my friend. First of all, I'm honored to be on the air with you. I didn't know you were here. Of course, we've been scrambling and a little disorganized. But yes, the people don't understand. And another thing that we've learned about this is, the accretion. That's the amount of ice on, power lines or trees. They can handle up to, a quarter of an inch, half an inch, maybe. It gets more than that, and things just start coming down just from the, impossible weight load. And another thing about trees is, and I didn't know this until this week, and by the way, folks, if you want to see a visual, just Google Oxford, Mississippi ice. And that'll give you an idea of what it's looking like around here. And, of course, Oxford is the town in Mississippi where the University of Mississippi is, Ole Miss. And this storm moved northeast in a diagonal line. Nashville, Tennessee has it. The entire I-40, Interstate 40 between Memphis and Nashville is just a river of ice. You can't even see the road. And this is a major, thoroughfare. At least it has been for the last couple of days. The sun is out today, but it's not supposed to get above freezing. It's supposed to get 40 a week and a half from now. Well, as you know, after a snow, the snowman's the last thing to go, right? The snowman can stay up even after it's like 50 or 60 degrees for a couple of days. This whole thing is just an ice cap, guys. It's an ice cap. And one thing that happens when you have this frigid air, it got down to -1 last night in Memphis. I went outside just to feel it. And the sap and the moisture in the trees expands when they when it gets that deep of a freeze, and it explodes. The trees are literally exploding, and it sounds like bombs in some places in this area. So it's just really, it's just, I mean, most people will never see this again in their lifetime. I've certainly never seen anything like this. And we were very much spared of the worst of that. We never even lost power, but we are stranded, and we do have the ice, but not nearly to the extent that they have, in that line between Nashville and going down to northern Mississippi, those counties, and all the way up, further than that even. So, anyway, that's what's happening. That's what I'm looking at.
Wow, James, our prayers are with you and your family. We're going to let you fly. We know you've got family things to do and you can't leave your house and everything else. We'll catch you later and keep an eye as we get updates on this as they try to, I don't even know if the right term is dig out. Maybe you say de-ice. Thanks, James.
We need flamethrowers. We'll talk to y'all later. Thank you, guys.
Liberty Roundtable Live.
How we each get, kind of acclimated, if you will, to our normal for our life. I mean, whether it's what time you get up in the morning or have breakfast, or the weather that you seem to come to expect. And it's interesting how you throw a curveball in there, and it becomes a kind of I don't know, it's something
catastrophic.
It's difficult to deal with. I mean, I was in Washington, D.C. one time, and I'll bet we got only a half an inch of snow. I mean, and I, as you point out, sometimes we're out in the Rocky Mountains, and I think of, I remember one time at the university I was working at, we got, I got up in the morning, and it was 25 or 30 inches of snow on my driveway, and I had to get to work because I knew there was going to be, some challenges at work. And anyway, I jumped in my 4-wheel drive, drove over there, and university president was on the phone. Why haven't we canceled school? And it's kind of like, well, this is the mountains. We get snow. I mean, people come to, expect it and deal with it. But if you get something out of the ordinary, like a half an inch of snow in Washington, D.C., I mean, things just go into gridlock. And boy, I'll tell you, like I say, Mother Nature can throw a curveball in there. And pretty soon we're finding out that we're pretty puny when it comes to the scope and magnitude and the power of all of these elemental forces that are upon the earth. So yeah, it can be pretty devastating if it's not part of your daily routine. And again, Sam, you point out, some of us in the mountains were thinking, they got a little snow. Come on, what's going on? And but
it's one, not part of their daily routine, and number two, we don't really understand either that the snow and ice is different there. When you get a big coating of ice in the south, it's not the same thing as a little coating of ice in the Rocky Mountains. I'm telling you, it's not the same thing. It's because of the humidity, because of a variety of factors, and I'm certainly not a scientist. I'm just telling you, it's not the same at all. And even in Utah and Idaho, a few years ago, we had a big storm, and it started caving in roofs, even in Idaho, I remember. And so we need to realize this is serious business, people.
You build to a snow load, and it's kind of one of those things that you don't expect something. I mean, I know back in 1983 in Utah, we had a very wet spring, and State Street in Salt Lake City, which is the main artery north and south through the community, was all sandbagged up, and motorboats were driving up and down the street. I mean, people were fishing from the sandbags. I mean, something that you go, wait, you don't see this every day. And so, things can change, and having a little, a little preparedness goes a long way sometimes. And of course, you can't completely always address everything that might come along, but you can do your best, and it sure helps when the time comes. Like, for example, where James is, if they had a home generator, even a small one, to keep the furnace blowing, but I got kids in Missouri, and they're farm animals that they're having to take care of, and the if it's below zero and the snow's deep, which they're not used to really, suddenly, we got to do life a little bit differently. And so, being a little flexible, something you have to be ready for when Mother Nature throws you a curveball.
And we have a website to help with that called prepstartsnow.com. That's prepstartsnow.com. And it can help people. It has some guidance documents that you can get for free to help you kind of lay out what you need to do. If you have to flee your home, where do you meet? How do you contact your loved ones if people are scattered? On to, how do you, take care of water and make sure you have enough water and enough food to withstand things. And, people need to think about preparedness. What a lot of people do is they think, I got to do it all at once. That's expensive and not very sustainable or real. What you got to do is do it a little bit at a time. Say, what if I had to stay in my home for a day? What if I had to flee for 3 days? What if I had to, and in my opinion, you start with preparedness in discussing the first, 72 hours. Get a 72-hour kit. Whether you need to flee, you can grab it and go, or whether you need to stay locked down, you can do it. Think about, water first, fuel second, water first, food second. Think about fuel. Think about, clothing and warmth and cooling and whatever. You got to think about all those kind of things. And prepstartsnow.com can help with that. But I also want people to realize preparedness isn't just physical. I know people think, prep, that means you're storing, 50 gazillion candles or whatever. I mean, there's a point to that of preparing. It's not hoarding like the government executive orders want you to believe. It's actually wise preparing so that you can take care of you, your family, and even those around you. But preparedness, in my mind, goes way, way beyond that, Dr. Bradley. Preparedness has to do with spiritual preparedness. It has to do with emotional preparedness. It has to do with a lot more than just physical, and people don't realize that. They want to dig in and create a compound, and my response is, what if you're forced to leave that compound? What if you're overrun and you're on the run? Then what? And so it's hard to prepare for every contingency, but that's why I believe spiritual preparedness, being close to God and letting him let you know what you should do. Should I stay or should I go? I know that's a Clash or whatever popular song. Should I stay or should I go now? But it's a real question when you're in those kind of perilous situations, etc. But when you have a historic ice storm, it paralyzes Oxford, Mississippi, widespread outages, dangerous conditions, literally creating a grip on the community like you wouldn't believe. They call it a historic winter ice storm. It's led Oxford, Mississippi, coated in thick ice, knocking out power for thousands, crippling roads with downed trees and power lines, forcing the university to close so that people could stay safe and warm. I mean, this stuff is, it's epic, Dr. Bradley, and it's serious. And I'm glad it didn't hit the rest of us, and I'm glad they haven't lost their power. But we need to realize every time one of these things happen, we need to kind of start to think about preparedness for ourselves. When will it be our turn? And what if we didn't have our electricity? I mean, there's just cold all across the country. If you don't have electricity, how are you going to stay warm? People need to think about that. And then people start making mistakes. Like they'll try to fire up a generator in a garage, or they'll try to, and oftentimes that stuff backfires and results in loss of life. It's the lack of experience, the lack of know-how that's the problem in those cases. So anyway, I wanted to spend the time on this though, doctor, because two things. One, we don't need to just idly look at these, pictures and go, wow, that's crazy. Ice-ageddon's happening. We need to think about what does that mean if it were to happen to us, and what can we do in preparation? And then we need to think about spiritual preparation. And then we need to think about, how many people have gone on the air with all these ice storms all across the country and said, listen, we need to turn to God. If we repent and turn to God, he promises us he will heal our land and protect us. Doctor, that's not an idle statement. That's something that I don't understand why everybody isn't talking about. And I guess it's just not newsworthy maybe. But to me, that's the key to focus on here. Turn to God, repent, do all you can to prepare, and have a relationship with God to trust in him for the rest. That's what we really ought to be focusing on and doing, rather than just saying, hey, it's ice-ageddon and look how crazy it is. And there's better answers, doctor.
It's kind of a strange phenomenon that we face in this country. We have probably the poorest historical memory, if you will, of any country on the earth. The legends that are told around the campfires in Africa kind of perpetuate that among those peoples. And Russia has, a big memory of all of the invasions they've had. And the United States seems to be, have an institutional memory of about a week and a half, maybe. And so sometimes you do have to give pause, look at what has historically happened. This turning from God or to God has historical precedents that are documented throughout all of history. And you can kind of see the challenges of turning from God and the benefits of turning back, if you will. But there's another little side note, and first time our family ever did anything like this was like 45 years ago. And I know that's longer than the institutional memory of probably anybody in office. But we did kind of a mock disaster just to see what, are we ready? I mean, and to tell you the truth, you talk about, you turn your power off, you turn your water off. And you, in our particular case, it was a real eye opener. We had a little open fireplace. It wasn't a wood burning stove or anything like that. And our family gravitated to about 5 or 8 feet away from the fireplace with our sleeping bags in front of it. And, our preparation of our meals were on a camp stove and so on and so forth. And it was like, whoa, baby, doggy, we need to think about this before we get too far. And I'm here to tell you, the prep time is not the 15 minutes before your disaster happens. I mean, I talked to one of my kids the other night before the storm hit them in Missouri. And he'd gone out that night after work, if you can believe that, and he bought a generator. And I'm saying, well, why the heck didn't you have one? I mean, you're in tornado country. You should have thought about this, But the fact of the matter is that all those generator selections were way down. And it's not just generators. I mean, and that's a pretty big ticket item. But you look at, water. I mean, water's a critical issue. If your pipes freeze, suddenly you can get mighty thirsty mighty fast. And there are other issues like
freeze, but if they break, it's worse, because now you might end up as soon as not realizing it's broke. And then when, of course, the snow or the ice starts to melt, pretty soon you got a flood in your house and you didn't realize it. So that's the downstream repercussions of this stuff oftentimes might be even bigger and more disastrous than the storms themselves. So beware of that. Power can still go out in many of these places. Pipes might be broken. All kind of things can happen. It's our goal. It's our focus to turn us all to God Almighty for solutions. Prayer works, people. Turning to God has real benefits and blessings. And then doing all within our power and then turning to God, do our best and turn to God for the rest should be the focus that we're having on. Our prayers are with all these people suffering in these situations. God bless them, and our prayers are with them. Hang tight. We've got more